The screen fades in with a low hum of tension. The narrator's voice drops to a dramatic whisper, rising with intensity. For over 50 years, one man has told America the same story, that he was a genius, the sharpest mind in the room, the man who could outthink generals, economists, and presidents alike. He waved his Wharton degree like a sword, daring anyone to question it. But tonight, that sword was snapped in half. The camera cuts to Congress. Jasmine Crockett, calm, focused, rises from her seat. In her hand, a manila envelope, sealed for decades. She doesn't rush. She pauses, letting the room's silence grow heavier with every second. Eyes widen. Cameras flash. Whispers ripple through the chamber. The narrator leans in. This wasn't rumor. This wasn't gossip. This was the document Donald Trump never wanted you to see. His 1970 Wharton Aptitude Test. Twitter explodes. Hashtags trend. Screens across America light up. And when Jasmine Crockett broke that seal, what spilled out shattered an empire built on myth. Fade to black. Cliffhanger transition. But before the reveal, you need to understand how the myth of Trump's genius was born. The narrator's voice rises, steady but sharp, as old footage flickers across the screen. For decades, Donald Trump sold America a brand, not just of gold towers and casinos, but of intellect. He wasn't just rich, he said. He was brilliant, a very stable genius. His own words, repeated like gospel. He claimed he finished at the top of Wharton. He bragged that his IQ was higher than presidents, professors, even scientists, and for millions. The myth worked. Clips flash. Trump boasting in interviews, tweets with the word genius in bold, cheering rallies echoing his words, supporters nodding, pundits repeating the story. The illusion grows stronger with every retelling. But myths don't form by accident. They are carefully built, brick by brick, boast by boast. And this one was designed to be untouchable. The screen cuts back to Jasmine Crockett, sitting silently, her eyes fixed forward. She doesn't need to shout. She doesn't need to brag. She has the one thing the myth could never withstand, proof. The narrator leans in. The music shifts. For half a century, Trump dared the world to challenge his so-called genius. But Jasmine Crockett wasn't playing his game. She came with receipts, cliffhanger transition, and when she broke the seal on that 1970 aptitude test, the numbers told a story Trump never wanted America to hear. The chamber goes still. The manila envelope opens with a soft tear, but the sound feels like thunder. Jasmine Crockett pulls out the yellowed pages, her voice steady, deliberate. Donald J. Trump, Wharton Aptitude Examination, 1970. The narrator cuts in. For years, he claimed brilliance. But on this night, the numbers began to speak, and they told a different story. Crockett begins reading, one section at a time, mathematical, reasoning. 108. A murmur ripples through the room. Average, not exceptional. Verbal, comprehension. 104. Gasps. Below. The level of many college freshmen. Abstract. Logic. 102. The myth of a genius suddenly looks ordinary. The narrator sharpens. This was the man who told America he could outthink generals. The man who bragged that he had the best words. Yet, score by score, Crockett revealed he was barely above the national average. Trump's allies shift uncomfortably. Some look down, others whisper in panic. Crockett continues unfazed, like a surgeon cutting into the heart of a long-untouched wound. And then came the writing section. One of the lowest marks on the page. The narrator's voice drops. This wasn't brilliance. This wasn't genius. It was mediocrity, wrapped in decades of bravado. Screens across America light up. Twitter ignites. Hashtag stable genius exposed. College students post side-by-sides of their own higher scores. Late-night hosts prepare their monologues before the hearing even ends. But Crockett isn't done. She lowers the final page, pauses, and locks eyes across the room. Cliffhanger transition, because it wasn't just the scores that stunned everyone. It was what those scores revealed about the man who held the highest office in the land. The camera tightens on Jasmine Crockett. She doesn't just read numbers. She translates them into consequences. Her voice cuts through the chamber like steel. Average math, below average comprehension, weak logic, and America trusted this man with trillion-dollar budgets, international treaties, and the lives of millions. The room stirs. Trump's allies shift uncomfortably. Some shout objections. Crockett raises her hand calmly, silencing the noise with sheer composure. The narrator leans in. She wasn't attacking a man. She was indicting a legacy built on arrogance, not intellect. Crockett connects the scores to reality. Casinos collapsing in Atlantic City. Fraud-riddled business ventures. A chaotic pandemic response where basic science was mocked. Ladies and gentlemen, she says firmly, these aren't just test scores. These are the footprints of decisions that cost lives, jobs, and America's credibility on the world stage. Gasps. Silence. The villain myth starts to crumble. The narrator sharpens the contrast. She didn't scream. She didn't gloat. Crockett simply laid the evidence beside the boasts, and the picture was undeniable. The so-called genius had led America with the judgment of a man barely scraping by on paper. Social media erupts again. Hashtags trend. Hashtag IQgate. Hashtag Wharton exposed. Memes flood timelines. My nephew scored higher. Teachers laugh in disbelief. Veterans shake their heads in anger. The narrator's tone grows cinematic. For the first time, the emperor's crown slipped. The illusion that genius had guided power collapsed in real time. The seal was broken. The scores were out. And for the first time in 50 years, the myth of Donald Trump's genius was naked before the world. The narrator's tone shifts from sharp to reflective. The fallout was immediate. News outlets across the globe broke into programming. Headlines blared. Trump's IQ myth shattered. Twitter trended for hours. Hashtag stable genius exposed. Late-night comedians sharpened their knives. And for once, even some of his own supporters fell silent. Trump raged. He called it fake, called Crockett a liar, claimed the test was rigged. But fact-checkers confirmed authenticity. Professors explained the scoring system, and the numbers did not bend. Meanwhile, Crockett's calm, steady presence became an instant symbol of truth cutting through noise. Students replayed the clip in classrooms. Historians compared the moment to Watergate hearings, one voice standing firm against decades of myth-making. The narrator closes with weight. Genius is not measured in boasts, but in wisdom, humility, and service. And on that night, Jasmine Crockett reminded America that truth, no matter how quietly spoken, will always outshine arrogance. The screen fades to black. The narrator whispers the final sting. Genius. Think again.